This is how your phone could be fueling a conflict in Central Africa. A rebel group called M23 claims it is now in control of Goma, a city in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, for weeks, the militia has been advancing on the city. Thousands of panicked families have been forced to flee the fighting, and at least a dozen UN peacekeepers and foreign soldiers are dead. In the capital, Kinshasa, fires were set around Western embassies, including the American one, by protesters angry at what they see as intervention in Africa's affairs. So why is all this happening? Well, M23 is a militia accused of mass atrocities, rape, and looting, and it is backed and funded by neighboring Rwanda. That's according to the United Nations, although Rwanda denies this. So why is Rwanda involved? Again, the answer may lie in your phone. The eastern DRC, where Goma is located, is rich in precious minerals used to build electronics. One of those minerals is coltan. And last year alone, Rwanda imported at least 150 metric tons of it by facilitating illegal mining through the M23 rebels in the DRC. Again, that's according to the United Nations. Now, Rwanda denies these accusations, but rights groups fear that M23 will expand its criminal enterprise into what some have called blood phones, putting the lives of millions caught in the chaos.
International news media will not report on Congo, but you know who will? Local Congolese journalists. Two examples that I'd like you to go and follow right now on all social media platforms are Mzee Elvis Katoto and Moses Sawasawa. Mzee Elvis Katoto is a documentarian and field journalist who, with his team, work tirelessly in these displacement camps in Goma. They go there and they speak one-on-one to these displaced men, women, and children. Mzee Elvis they provide emergency relief, and in addition to that, Mzee Elvis is also a lifelong member of this community in Goma. He is giving us live updates from this crisis right now happening in Goma. Please go and follow him on all social media platforms and support his work. Moses Sawasawa is a photojournalist working in Eastern Congo right now. Moses is documenting about how Goma, although Goma is accepting and welcoming this influx of internally displaced people, Goma's facilities like hospitals are being severely put under a lot of pressure, and they're being pushed to their limit. Moses' work is invaluable. We need to support both of these hardworking journalists. Please go and follow them on all social media platforms. There is Moses and Elvis Katoto's Instagram accounts. Please go and follow them, and please support any fundraisers that these two journalists may be running so that we can continue seeing their work. We might lose connection to Goma, but as long as we are following these two, we will be kept up to date about what is happening in this region. We owe this region our attention at the very least, because we know that we all benefit from this crisis. Thank you all for listening, and as always, Free Congo.
We start with the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Rwanda-backed M23 rebels are advancing further into the country's mineral-rich eastern region. After capturing Goma, the largest city in the east, they seem to have now opened a new front. Locals say they have now marched into the neighboring South Kivu province. So far, the fighting was centered in North Kivu province, where rebels have seized the capital city of Goma.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Africans. I hope you're doing fine where you are, and if you ain't doing fine, please do fine where you are. It's not so good not to be so fine, but some people will always find a way of pissing you off. I'm telling you that it's something, it's a human nature thing, you know, to always piss people off. But then what can you do? What can you do about it? Yeah, speaking about pissing people off, I believe by now you've already heard about the news about DRC, you know, Congo, DRC Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. We have two of them, DRC Kinshasa and Congo Brazzaville. Now, DRC Kinshasa is the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. The president of the DRC Kinshasa is a man by the name Felix Tshisekedi. Felix Tshisekedi is a bold man with a bald head and very, very powerful stances, you know. He's a man of his words, and he does not back off with everything that he says. Yep. And so him being who he is, you know, DRC is a troubled country. DRC has a troubled past with some of its neighbors. It has a troubled past with itself. The civil war in DRC, Leopold in DRC, Patrice Lumumba, CIA in DRC, the Belgian influence in DRC, the British influence in DRC. So DRC is just a country which had a troubled past that is affecting its present, you know. If you want to understand the present, you must study the past and yesterday. Yep. So DRC is having a conflict, as I said, and the country of Rwanda, Rwanda being headed by the president Paul Kagame, you know. Paul Kagame is being accused of wanting to topple the government of DRC, you know. There is a rebellion called the M23 rebels. And then we also have another kind of a rebellion as well. But this one tends to fight in favor of DRC. It's called the FDNR. FDNR is also another sector of this, you know. And so there's conflict everywhere. M23 wants to topple the government of DRC, and it is believed, it is said, the UN also has proof that the M23 rebel who wants to topple the Kinshasa government is being backed, has backup with the country of Rwanda. Paul Kagame is working hard to topple his neighbor's government. That is a simple way I can put it, you know. That is how Africa is. We work hard towards toppling another person in favor of the West, you know. Greed, you know. One thing that we need to understand is that Kinshasa is very, very far away from the eastern side of the country. And Rwanda is just very, very close. They border themselves, you know. And there's a territory called Goma. Goma is a very rich territory in terms of minerals. And the M23 rebel have conquered this place, and the DRC government is trying to retrieve what it is. You know, the Goma region, which is very much rich in minerals. The phone I'm using right now is a piece that has been used, the mineral used to make this has been gotten from, you know, DRC. So we have the UN, as I told you in the past video, we have the UN, which is a peacekeeping body, as it should be, but it's working in favor of foreign policies. Maybe it's working in favor of these electronic companies so that their interests are not hurt. They don't care who wins or who loses. They don't care who is in the conquest of Goma as a region of DRC or who loses the conquest, you know. They just want to make sure that the equipments we are protecting are not touched by any side. Whichever side wins, that is the side we go with. But African countries, being African countries, headed by the African Union, which seeks to bring peace among African countries, has decided to condemn this issue. You know, UN is one whole system that protects the whole countries which are members of the Charter. But AU, African Union, which is a union in which African countries collectively come together for the sake of peace, maintenance, trade, and all that. Now, these countries of the AU have decided to condemn the president of Rwanda because it is clearly shown and it is clear with all evidence pointing at Rwanda being the threat to the establishment of peaceful government in DRC. But the Rwandese government has refused. In fact, Paul Kagame has decided that if it is combat, he's ready for combat, you know? Let it be, just let it be that whatever he is saying is not true. Let it be that whatever he is saying, is true, that he is not backing up the rebels to conquer his neighbor's government. Let it be, it is not true. Because if it is true, he is in a very bad position, and you know, the world never forgets. The internet as well does not forget, and he will be reminded time soon. We have the ICJ, a body which is responsible for putting into justice these kind of leaders. If Paul Kagame is found guilty, he will face the harsh sentence, because many countries in Africa are now fighting for DRC. Yeah. There is a conversation that they actually had, and I want us to listen to this conversation, and then I shall give you my thoughts by the end of the video, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis.
Thank you, Chairman of Community. I want to associate myself with what has been said, especially what our sister President Samia Suluhu has just mentioned. But before that, let me raise a couple of questions maybe to guide us. I don't know if that is possible. One, is there anybody among us who did not see this coming? I for one, I saw it coming, to be where we are now. I saw it coming because I did not see who was taking charge of the process, who was listening, who was trying to provide any kind of guidance as to what we should be doing from one thing or one day to another. And by this, I want to also ask, as the East African community, what did we want from the beginning? Or what did we do about that? What are we doing now? And what do we want to do for where we want to go? Because exactly like President Samia has mentioned, if it is talking about problems and defining them, and I think we have been very eloquent. We have talked about all kinds of things. But when do we match what we are saying and what we are doing so that we get to what we want? When do we come to that? I haven't seen it. President, I asked last time in our meeting, the last summit, where is East African community, or does it exist? And exist for what? By the way, even now, the person or the country we are talking about is not represented as we are discussing. And it is supposed to be, the country is supposed to be part of East Africa, but nowhere to be represented. So I'm not sure what bearing what we are discussing has on what happens in the process of finding a solution in this country. I'll move on. The conflict that was created from the time we had East African community get involved in trying to help in Congo, and later on when the East African force was trying its best and we are seeing progress, Tshisekedi decided they are not doing what he wanted and went to SADC. SADC agreed they would come and do what he wanted. and sent everybody packing. And that we complied and kept quiet. What really did we expect to come out of this? Now, worse still, I think even in East Africa itself, ourselves, maybe we have different understanding of what the problem is, and we have never come together to agree or even disagree and find a way to come together finally to do what we ought to do to deal with this problem. Or we simply decided, each country, to move on its own with a different agenda arising out of involvement or whatever in Congo, and that was enough. If your interests were catered for by Tshisekedi, that was fine, even if the others' interests or concerns were not taken care of. You can imagine, therefore, what chaos comes out of that kind of situation. We are, on one hand, assuming or pretending we are coming together over an issue and trying to find a solution, while at the same time, each country is pulling in its own direction, different from the others. This is the fact of the matter. Now, but even if we were doing everything right, all of us, nothing is going to come out of it until those mainly concerned are also part of it and participating and contributing to the success of the process through which they are getting the support. But if the parties decide or accept to be manipulated, because, and by the way, that's exactly what happened, and I think in Congo, there are experts for doing that. They would go to one party and promise them something, and then they would decide to keep quiet about what is obviously going to result into problems like we are seeing now. Or, like he did, he didn't want East African community because they were not doing things the way he wanted, even if it was not right. He got rid of them and he decided to bring in SADC. SADC was, without any question, coming to assist Tshisekedi to fight alongside FDLR, these murderers of our people here in this country, to fight against mercenaries, and to have Burundi on ethnic political basis decide to support Tshisekedi in whatever endeavor, including exactly doing what those murderers did to our people and what they are doing in Eastern Congo. They have displaced people, they have killed people, they have persecuted them on a daily basis for who they are. We have refugees here who have been here for the last 20 plus years, just dislocated from Congo and sent to Rwanda because they say these are ethnic Tutsis, and therefore they belong to Rwanda, they don't belong there. And everybody is around. I don't know how many entities we have in Congo, honestly. We have MONUSC, we have SAMI DRC, we have mercenaries, we have Burundi, we have FDLR that has joined them. And everybody is there watching this thing, and we pretend it's like we don't understand what has been going on for all these years. And then when things like this of last week erupted, we behave like we are surprised or we are concerned about humanitarian crisis, about this and that. Isn't persecuting and killing people and displacing them part of that humanitarian concern? So as East Africans, we sit here and then do what about it? For the last 2 days, on Monday and today this morning, I spoke with the president of South Africa, who sought me out to speak with me on this matter because of their involvement in Eastern Congo. And he's also there pretending to be playing a peacemaker role. And he has a force that has been fighting alongside FDLR and has been fighting the M23 on the instructions of Tshisekedi, because these are people who are not supposed to be in Congo, that these are from Rwanda, or the M23 are not Rwandans, please. These are Congolese, and one time he accepts it, then another time he says, no, part of it is yes, and then the other part is from Rwanda, and these are He keeps on going. And how do we, leaders of our own countries, accept this to go on forever and just accept that we shall be manipulated by Tshisekedi or whoever is supporting him? And South Africa dares even issue threats about what is likely to happen after that, and so on and so forth. Of course, we will see what threats they are talking about. Maybe they should have done that exactly for which they have been issuing threats. They should have done it to clean up the mess in Eastern Congo, or to fight back those who have been trying to clean up the mess. So then you have the whole international community just confused. They talked about Rwanda, they talked about the Nairobi process. Honestly, even here, maybe you will help me understand what all this means. The processes became an end in themselves. And the people leading these processes became more important than the results of the processes. The Nairobi process became a Uhuru process. Then the Rwanda process, it's like you can't say anything that will displease President Lorenzo. Definitely, this does not help deal with such a serious matters as we are faced with today. That in the end, just because they can't be addressed, we have such a situation that, like we have now. And if anybody, and above all, I don't understand how Tshisekedi keeps thinking that he will resolve the problems to do with rights of people militarily. Kill them, shoot them, bring in forces that are ready to help, like especially Burundi. Well, I don't know whether that has been helpful for the last few days or weeks. They have been doing that. So I want us to, Chairman, Your Excellencies, I want us, whatever we are saying and whatever we intend to do, we capture the context rightly and then proceed based on that, and maybe we can get somewhere. But otherwise, if we keep saying good things, saying that, and to each other being nice, and then each one fulfilling their own interests other than others' interests, the common interests we have as East Africans, then I don't see how we are going to contribute effectively to finding a solution. But really to have even had East African community expelled from Eastern Congo and everybody complied and then there was quiet. It's as if it was normal or that is okay. Everything dictated by the country or the person we are trying to help. I didn't understand that. And that's where we are now. That's how we are here, where we are. So let me maybe for now stop here. I would really want to hear advice of others, but I think it's not just a plaything. It's not, it's a serious matter, evidently, because it consumes people's lives. And the other day, 2-3 days ago, we lost people. There was a lot of sharing from Eastern Congo, from Goma, and killed a dozen people and injured hundreds. We will definitely take care of that.
Now, listening to this story, listening to Paul Kagame angrily fight for himself is just evidence that, you know, that person who speaks too much is always not speaking the truth. You know, the more someone explains themselves, the bigger the lie. That is what I can see with Paul Kagame here. He's just lying over and over and over and over, and his lies does not know any boundaries, you know? His lies does not know any boundaries. So if we come back and we see through the lenses of the humans who are suffering, the civilians, the DRC is fighting for its own right cause. But I don't understand why Rwanda is fighting towards, you know, destabilizing its government, its neighbor's government. Is it a past score that he's trying to settle? Is it the genocide that he's trying to bring to justice, or rather to justice in his own vigilante system? I don't know, but we can just speculate upon this. But the thing which remains is this: Africans, if we still remain with such kind of mindset of clinging to power, such as the thing Paul Kagame does in his country, you know, wanting what's even not yours to the extent of putting, you know, the civilian lives at stake, we are not going to have peace. We are not going to have a borderless policy as we go around speaking about it, you know. When we fight one another, the enemy finds a chance. When we fight one another, there's no peace at all, you know. When we fight one another, how can we say that we are one country called motherland? We can't say that. It's untrue. You understand? It's upon us, black people, to fight for one another, not against one another. I'm happy with those countries such as South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. We have President of Kenya, the President of Burundi, and other African countries fighting for this. Many times, many African countries are looking aside when DRC is being bombarded by its neighbor Rwanda. It's not the time to let this happen. It's time African countries should come up front and try to fight for the right cause. Fight for the right cause. DRC, it's fighting to protect its own territories. Goma is a territory of DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa. It's not part of Rwanda. The influence of Rwandan rebellion is something which Paul Kagame is doing to benefit from the rich minerals from its neighbors. He's forgetting a very powerful commandment. Do not covet your neighbor's property. Paul Kagame, you're wrong in this. So guys, thanks for watching this video. It's EFK Original Documentaries. If you like what I do, kindly subscribe to the channel. I will surely appreciate, and see you in the next one.